This is going to be a little bit different from what I normally do, but as it is technically a mobile game and my channel has kind of fallen into this weird mobile game vortex as of like the last year or so, I wanted to touch upon a gacha that isn't really a gacha anymore. This is Mega Man X Dive Offline, and I don't know if anyone out there has heard of Mega Man X Dive before. I certainly hadn't until about a month or two ago. I just randomly stumbled across it. And what I found so fascinating is that it was the full game of a gacha that, as far as I'm aware, no longer exists. It's just all of the content of the gacha game shoved onto a file and exported for everyone to play. Currently I'm playing it on PC with a PS5 controller, but as far as I'm aware, you can also download it on mobile. So for anyone that did play the game back in the day when it was still available, because I imagine it isn't anymore with it having its own offline variety, it is also on mobile. So what I find absolutely fascinating about this game is that it has taken however long Mega Man X Dive's lifespan has been, and then it's just gone, you know what, the servers are going offline, the game is going to be dead forever, no one's ever going to be able to play it again. How can we resolve this while also still making a bit of money? Because it's not a free game, which, you know, is to be expected. It is, you know, if you can make money on something, people are inevitably going to. But it is honestly the ideal way for every gacha to end. Because gacha games, unfortunately, they do have a lifespan. Eventually, all gacha games are going to just inevitably die. They'll move on to the next one, or maybe they move on to the next one in the series or something. But even some of the most popular gacha games out there are eventually just going to be dead and lost to time, just like this one was. And the way they can solve it is by literally just giving you all the content in one singular package, which you can just happily grind and work towards as much as you like. So, as with any gacha, you know, you've got your store, you've got characters, you've got weapons, you've got cards, which are essentially just equipment, you've got event items, you've got skins. All of this stuff is permanently available. There's no limit to how often it is there. It is just always available. So the way it works is it's a typical fragment system that a lot of games have. So if I want, I don't know, Super Mega Man, I just get 40 copies of him, and then he's unlocked. And then, you know, there's the rank up system where every like 20 they'll, you know, level up and stuff. And there are loads of different weapons and whatnot. But essentially, it's as if you had played Genshin Impact for 10 years. The developers have gone, okay, Genshin Impact, we're done now. Maybe they've moved on to Genshin Impact 2 or whatever, or the game just isn't successful anymore, which I find very hard to believe. But they've gone, right, the game's dead, what can we do? We have all of this content, people might want to play it, people might still want to enjoy it just in their free time. And you could have a system like this where you can just buy weapons whenever you want, buy 5 stars whenever you want, still enjoy the story if you're into that, and just enjoy the endless grind that is a gacha. So for instance, there's, you know, I think there's like 90 different characters or something. There's just so many characters to pick and choose from. Some of them have skins. Not all of them have skins. But yeah, there's a ton of different characters. They're all readily available. You don't have to pay anything other than the initial price of the game, and then that's it. We have event skins or seasonal skins, like this one is Christmas. Has a cool hat. You also have all of these weapons. Like, for instance, there's this cool scythe, Crimson Scythe. I imagine when the game was released, this was probably super expensive to try and acquire. But now you can literally just spend in-game currency. So there is a premium currency, but it's not really premium. You just earn it by doing, I think it's like challenges and stuff. Yeah. So that's all it is. It's just, you do challenges, you get the fancy currency. And then you have all of these extras, which are the boss monster. These are the like boss chips, which you can assign to a weapon, and they'll do their own little attack alongside it. There you go. We'll put them on all of those. Why not? Now, I've not played a ton of the game, but I just find it absolutely fascinating that this can even exist, because there's not many games that do it. I think there's There's one I can think of off the top of my head that does it as well, and it's the weird Transformers fighting game that is pretty much just Marvel Contest of Champions, except instead of it being Marvel characters, it's now Transformers. You can get it if you have a Netflix subscription. It's very odd, but the fact you can, it's again another one of those games where you can just play whenever and you don't actually have to worry about it ever dying because it's already gone. There's no servers. The game is always going to be there. So if for some reason you absolutely adore, I don't know, this or the Transformers fighting game, you can just casually play it at your own pace. You're never going to miss out on anything. You have access to all the content in the game without paying anything more than the initial price. You can come back to the game in a month. It's all going to be the same. Nothing's going to be missed. There's going to be no FOMO for you to worry about. You can literally just pick your favorite character, purchase them, and then play them with whatever weapon you like. And you can do that for as long as you like. I think it's such a wonderful system. Currently the game costs around £25, which, you know, about 20 quid I would say is a pretty decent price for what it is. I paid more for so much worse. And it's currently on like 50%. It's currently on 50% off for the Steam sale. So if it looks interesting if it looks interesting at all, you know where to find it. Say one day I was like, oh, Vile looks cool. I want to play him. There you go. I now own him. And while we're here, we'll get a cool new weapon as well. What looks cool? This thing just creates poison. Can I even afford it? I can. There we go. We now have the poison gun. And that is it. That is all you need to do to acquire new equipment and stuff. Now, of course, there's, you know, you've got skills you can level up. You've got a rank up system with skins, which I've touched upon, but not many characters have skins. We have the card system, which I've not really looked into, but you know, it's a pretty standard equipment system. There's a lot to keep you busy, and because the game is no longer pining for your money, I mean, once you've bought it now, you've got it forever. It's not like they can charge you again. There's no microtransactions to speak of. So you own the game. There's no extra transactions. And you can just endlessly grind to your heart's content. Now, obviously, the game may not be to everyone's taste. I can see that. It's Mega Man. Mega Man, you know, very popular IP to some people. To maybe more modern day audiences, less so. And that's coming from someone that has actually played a couple of Mega Mans. I think the only ones I've really played are Mega Man 2, 1, and 10, I think. When 10 did like its resurgence after 9's weirdly long gap. But yeah. The game itself may not be to everyone's taste. But personally, you can't really complain at the idea of a gacha just one day deciding once it is finally ready to shut off or it's no longer receiving enough love or interest to just go this route. It seems like a no-brainer. And I'm hoping that in the future, when a gacha game has inevitably run its course, as they will all do, obviously, the successful ones will be around for a very long time. I mean, you've got your Gacha, you've got your Genshins, your Honkai Star Rails, your Summoner Wars, Arc Knights, all those kind of things. They're going to be around for a long time, but maybe one day they won't be. And, you know, maybe you want the nostalgia of being able to play them a casual level without too much concern about how much time investment it requires. All that type of thing. Again, it might not be to everyone's taste, but to be honest, if you're playing a gacha game in general, again, it might not be to your particular taste. You may not be super into grindy gachas or that type of thing. But let's be real. Gachas in general are fairly grindy by nature. I mean, you have your dailies to do. You have to log in regularly to make sure you get all of your login bonuses. It's kind of a requirement of the genre for the most part. So you are kind of expecting to have that grindiness with a gacha normally. So to have it in the game as its main focal point, now that the servers are offline, I don't see it honestly as that much of a detriment. The entire reason I bought the game was so I could have a little grind session here and there that I don't have to take too seriously. I can just be like, oh, maybe shove on a Netflix documentary on one monitor and then just mindlessly grind out some Mega Man on the other. Like, this doesn't require a lot of attention. It hits that gacha itch without me knowing that I'm ever going to have to spend money on the game ever again, which is absolutely wonderful. Again, for some people the price tag might be a bit much and the grinding might also be a bit much. But personally, I don't think the price tag is that egregious. Around 20 quid seems, I would say, about fair. And the overall grindiness, again, is the kind of thing I look for in a gacha anyway. If there's nothing to do or work towards, then there's really no point in playing the gacha in the first place, at least in my opinion. But yeah, that's about the gist. I just thought it was absolutely fascinating that something like this existed, and I really, really hope that going forward it becomes some kind of mainstream. They don't necessarily all have to be paid. I'm sure many players would appreciate a free-to-play version of an offline gacha game that they play on the regular. But I can see a lot of developers implementing a paid model and just being like, right, give us 20 quid. You can play your favorite dead gacha for as long as you want. You don't have to worry about microtransactions. There's no whaling required. There's none of this unnecessary power creep because you just have access to everything all at once and you can work towards it at your own pace without having to ever fear about missing out on anything. I think it's a really cool idea. I really like it. I want more games to do this. It sucks to see a game die at all and to be completely unplayable. Any game that has any kind of online requirement, I believe, needs to have some kind of offline ability to play it. I'm a big proponent for games conservation, and if it means I have to spend an extra 20 quid to play a game that is no longer online, you know what? It's not a bad shout. But anyway, what do you think of the game? Let me know down in the comments below what you think of the game. What do you think of the sort of strategy they've employed for it? Are you not that fussed? Or do you think it's a cool idea? I think it's a great idea. I don't think there's anyone that really loses out here. It means that people that love the game can keep playing it without needing to spend any more money than the initial cost. And, you know, I'm sure the developers don't mind making a bit of extra cash on the fact that their once thriving game is no longer online, but instead of having to pay server fees, they can just occasionally get a little bit of money from the occasional Steam sale, just like this one. But yeah, I will leave it there. Thank you for those that stuck around to the end. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I have been James, the mayor of JamessTown, and until next time, goodbye.